A bit about ourselves, if you're new to this channel. We are Lifetime Success Seminars. My name is Charles Stephen. I'm a co-host of Lifetime Success Seminars alongside Stephen Buraganya. And we do our meetings every fortnight, every other Saturday. And we live and breathe personal development. So this is our thing. This is what we do. We raise these conversations about personal development, lifestyle, finance, business, mental health, mental well-being, learning, development, physical fitness, all the areas to do with personal development. That's our area. Those are the areas we try and raise conversations and raise discussion in our communities and raise awareness, really, to challenge the communities to sort of develop more in those areas of personal development. And so today the topic of our conversation today is book review, and the book we're reviewing today is the five major pieces. What I'm getting it wrong.
The life puzzle.
Yeah, the five major pieces of the life of the life puzzle by Jim Rohn. And so we're really excited. We're excited that you're here with us. We hope to hear your contribution as well. This is not just a one-man show. So we're going to have a presentation, but then at the end we'll have time for contributions, for ideas, and hopefully we're going to have a really rich discussion about this. A little bit about the book and the author. Jim Rohn, is one of, in my opinion, one of the greatest personal development gurus of the 20th century. He passed away, I think in 2009, I think it is, they passed away. Quite an old man, but his legacy, his books, his theories, his philosophy, his knowledge, what he's left behind is so massive. I mean, now you talk about people like I mean, you mention any personal development guru you know right now, from Anthony Robbins to Darren Hardy to the Bob Proctors of today, you name it, anyone you want to name, even what was his name again, the John Maxwell's and all these guys. In a way, if you look back, they've been inspired by the likes of Jim Rohn, and so he's a big guy. And I have to thank Steve for this, because it is Stephen who actually introduced me to Jim Rohn a couple of years back, and since then I couldn't look elsewhere. He's brilliant. He's so inspirational. He's so encapsulating. I mean, I challenge you, if you have never listened to Jim Rohn, just go on YouTube and find any of his videos. They're quite old, and probably the quality might not be that great, but just try and listen to him. I mean, if you listen to him for 5 minutes, you'll be captured. You'll be captivated. He's an amazing speaker. He's a very inspiring speaker, and his books are just brilliant, because the way he writes his books, it's very simplistic, very simple, very. He's just amazing, and you'll be blown away by the guy. So that's a little bit about the guy and the book. And this book basically is just a summary of what personal development is all about. In my opinion, I think it's the best best written summary of personal development there is out there. And I love it to bits, and I hope you will enjoy it as well while we have this presentation. Like I said before, if you've read the book before, it's brilliant. If you haven't, it's also just as great, because the way we're going to do our presentation today, it should benefit you, it should suit you, even if you've never read that book before, because we're trying to bring out the main lessons from the book and bring them into the practicalities of life today. So it's going to be relevant to you as well. But I strongly encourage you, I strongly urge you, if you can find a copy of this book and read it as well, that would be absolutely fantastic. It's not a big book, it's only about 95 pages, and the audio book only lasts about 3.5 hours to listen. So I strongly encourage you to look for it and read it. I think on Amazon Kindle, you can get it for about £3, and you can, if you're old-fashioned like myself and you like paperback, You can get it for about £7, I think, on Amazon. And elsewhere you can get it even for a fiver. I think on other books you can get it for a fiver. So yeah, so I strongly encourage you to get a copy of this book and find time to read it, because it's amazing, and I guarantee you it will make a great impact in your life. Having said that, let me go straight to the point. The way we're going to do it today, I'm going to do a bit of an introduction to the book, and then afterwards I'll bring in Stephen. Stephen, he will be doing the main meat, if you like, of the conversation that we're going to have today. And we're not going to cover the whole book in one day. We're probably going to split it into several topics, and probably we'll because you've got 5 major pieces of the puzzle. We'll probably just deal with one piece today, and we might not even finish that. So we're going to take our time on this and really have rather than just sort of shallowly go into it. We're just going to try and dive in as deep as possible, even if we're going to spend so much time in it. But we're just going to try and get as much out of it as possible. So that's the mode of operation we're going to adopt going forward with this topic, because we believe that's the best way to do it. Right. Having said that, let me do a screen share with you guys, and then we can. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Let me try and do that. Right. The 5 major pieces to the life puzzle by Jim Rohn. Like I said before, this is a fantastic book, and I love it because of its simplicity, the way it's written, and it makes a very easy read. But it's by no means shallow, because sometimes some books that are easy to read end up becoming shallow. But this one is quite loaded, it's quite deep, but it's very easily written. Once you pick it up, you can't put it down. I guarantee you. Or if you start listening to the audio, you just want to keep going and listening to it, because it's very easy. The flow is brilliant, and once you start doing it, I hope you agree with me. Now, basically, what are these 5 major pieces of the life puzzle? Now, according to Jim Rohn, the 5 pieces of the puzzle are philosophy, attitude, activity, results, and lifestyle. Now, don't worry if that doesn't make sense at the moment, because we will have time to go through each one of them in detail, what they stand for and what it means. But basically, those are what the 5 areas of the life puzzle are: philosophy, attitude, activity, results, and lifestyle. And today, I believe Steve will focus mainly on philosophy, and probably we might not finish it. We might come another day and finish that, and then we'll go to attitude, and then we'll go to activity, and then we'll go to results, and then lifestyle. So it might take us a couple of sessions. It might take us 3 sessions. It might take us 4. It might take us 5 sessions even. So we're not really in a rush for this, but we really want to get the most out of this book, because there is so much to get out of this book, because it sums up personal development really, really well. Now, as an introduction, I've said this a million times, this is a really simple yet excellent summary of the fundamental basics of personal development, success, and happiness in general. Because when you talk of personal development, and when you talk of success, a lot of us think of material possession, about getting good, making it out there in the marketplace, and becoming really successful financially, becoming really successful in business, becoming really successful in all these things. But I think the last word there, happiness, is really important, because at the end of the day, when you look at your life holistically, it comes to you happy. And if you've accumulated all this wealth, you've accumulated all this success, this fame and fortune, and you still don't find yourself happy, then that's all futile. And therefore, happiness is a really important piece of the puzzle, that somehow, as you're trying to venture out to pursue wealth and success, you have to remember that the most important thing for you to pursue actually is happiness. The ultimate goal is that you may end up being happy. And Jim Rohn has kind of struck that balance in this book, trying to ensure that in your pursuit for success, you have to ensure that you are also looking for happiness as well, because without it, really, it's just going to end up being frustration to you. And Jim Rohn says, he has this quote which I think sums up everything really well. He says, to have more, we must first become more. And I think this quote really sums up what personal development is all about. When we're talking about personal development, we're trying to improve ourselves. We're trying to become more. We're trying to be better so that everything else will be better. Actually, Jim Rohn, he actually said it that way. He says, when you change, everything changes for you. When you become better, everything becomes easier. So I think that's what this book is all about. To have more, we must first become more. Now, something I want to talk about on the outset is the issue of cause and effect. And I think it's really important to understand that life is like domino, it's like a set of dominoes. And everything is interconnected. You know what I mean? There is absolutely nothing that happens in our lives that is sort of like abstract, comes from nowhere, and there is absolutely no connection to anything before it. Everything that happens, every result that we get, every outcome that we have is somehow interlinked to something that we've done in the past. And that's the whole point of cause and effect. And life as a dominoes effect, we have to look at life that way, that everything that happens, we must have caused it somehow in the past, in the way we behaved ourselves, in the way we allowed things to happen in our lives, in what we allowed to come in our minds, in the choices we made in the past, in the places we allowed ourselves to be, both positive and negative. Somehow, anything that happens, sometimes we may look at it and think like, wow, this just happened, overnight. It's just happened from nowhere. Some people say, oh, it's overnight success, but I beg to differ. There is this thing I posted, I think, sometime last year on Facebook, and it says like, overnight success takes 15 years. On the outside, you look at someone and think, oh, this guy is an overnight success. But actually, if you look back, you will realize that person probably has been working for that success for 15 years. So everything has a cause. And so even with these major pieces of the puzzle, philosophy, attitude, activity, effect, philosophy, attitude, activity, results, and lifestyle, they are also like a dominoes effect. They all relate one to another, and they're actually arranged in that order. It always starts with philosophy, because when you talk of philosophy, you're talking of your mindset. You're talking of what you know, or you're talking about your knowledge, what you know, both in your subconscious mind and in your conscious mind. You're talking of your paradigm. You're talking of your thought process, your thinking habits. It's all about what you know, what goes on through in your mind. That's what makes up your philosophy. And it always starts with that. And from there, it goes to attitude. Attitude is all about how you feel about what you know. And then from attitude, it goes to activity. Activity is what you do. What you do is always going to be dictated by what you know and how you feel about what you know. And from activity, you get results. Your results will always come from your activity, and the quality of your activity and the quantity of your activity will determine your results. And again, that leads to lifestyle, because the kind of lifestyle you end up living depends on the kind of results that you have, and that depends on your philosophy and the attitude that you have and the activities that you're doing. So in a way, they are all kind of linked one to another. But if you look at them really closely, you realize that the first three make up the cause, and the last two make up the effect, because what your input is your philosophy, your attitude, and your activity. The output is the results that you get and the lifestyle that you end up having as a result of the results that you're getting. Quickly, let me move on to the next slide. Again, this book is all about change. What Jim Rohn is soliciting for, what he's advocating, is change. And Jim Rohn is so big about change. If you listen to his seminars, he's all about change. You know, it's like, if you don't change, nothing's going to change. If you change, everything will change for you. That has been his philosophy all his life. And if you listen to his personal story, he pretty much messed up his early youth up until the age of 25, and he was pretty much a mediocre, not really doing well in life, and until he met his mentor, Mr. Shaw, who taught him everything he knows, and he went to work for him. And as a result, his life completely changed. He was completely transformed because he adopted the philosophy that Mr. Shaw had taught him. And Mr. Shaw really took him on his wings and really changed him. And since then, he started that journey from the age of 25. By the time he was 31, 6 years on, he became a millionaire. And he never looked back. That wasn't the end. That was almost like the beginning of his journey. And he just started building from there until he was a 90-year-old person. He never stopped. And he's all about change. He's all for change. And his message is all about change. And even in this book, it comes out really clearly that the main objective and the overriding objective of this book is to bring change in those 5 areas. Bringing change in your philosophy, bringing change in your attitude, bringing change in your activity, both in the quantity and the quality of your activity. Changing your results, changing your lifestyle, really, really important. Now, I really quickly want to talk about the forces for change. Change can only come because of 2 things. Change comes either because of inspiration or desperation. Now, what does that mean? Inspiration is like what we're doing right now. You know, we're sitting here out of your own volition, out of your own choice. Nobody has forced you. You're just inspired. Maybe you've attended our previous seminars. Maybe you haven't, but you saw our adverts, and you're like, wow, I love this book. Like what Lillian was saying before. It's like, wow, this is a fantastic book. I'm not going to miss this seminar. You know, I'm really going to attend and listen to what this book is all about. Or maybe someone has told you about us and say like, oh, Lifetime Success Seminars, these guys are great, you know, and they're talking about this fantastic book by Jim Rohn. Or maybe you've heard about Jim Rohn and you say, right, I'm going to attend and listen. You are inspired. Inspiration is driving you to do something about it, to make a change. And you're coming here, and this is like a step for you to change. So that's inspiration. Desperation is exactly the opposite. Desperation is when you're running away from something. You're already cornered. You're in that corner. Your adrenaline is rushed. It's like, if I don't do something right now, I'm done. I'm doomed. I mean, this is it for me. My survival is at risk here. It's all about survival. That's what desperation is. And tell you what, either one of them can lead to change. And it's unfortunate that because as humans we are survival creatures, and because we are survival creatures, naturally we tend to rely, more often than not, we tend to rely on desperation changes. We tend to almost like wait till things start really heating up, when things are really uncomfortable. We stay in our let me put it this way: we stay in our comfort zone until it becomes uncomfortable. Then we think of changing, and that is all about desperation. We always operate from in that spectrum. If inspiration is on one end and desperation is on the other, we tend to operate more on the desperation end of the spectrum. We tend to stay in the comfort zone until when it becomes uncomfortable for reasons beyond ourselves. Then we kind of like, what can we do? We really need to change. And when we make those changes, we make as little change as possible to just become comfortable. It's almost like we just do the minimum necessary to get us back to comfort. And that's it. So it's always about survival. We always try to survive. We're not looking to thrive. We're looking just to survive, basically. But then that's not the way to live. I mean, there is so much more to life than just survival. And this is what inspiration is all about. If we can harness inspiration, if we can really try and and look for inspiration everywhere in life. And such things like this, we can look for inspiration everywhere. We can look for inspiration out there. I mean, I love listening to poems and reading poems, because sometimes in poems you get lots of inspiration, and you can really get into people's minds and minds of these great men and women who wrote these fantastic poems, because it tells you how inspired they are with really little things. You know, people write poems about environment, about you know, about the springtime and the tulips and all the blossoms of the flowers. You kind of think, I see these things every day. Why don't I get the same inspiration as they do? You know, people find inspiration from all sorts of places, and it's really important to be able to galvanize ourselves to get inspiration in every area of our lives, because the more we do that, the more we thrive, the more successful we can be, and the greater changes and more lasting changes we can have in our lives, if you like. So yeah, so inspiration is all about the pool of promise for a better life. You know, it's a pull. You have this promise of a better life, and it pulls you towards it. While desperation is a push of pain, of accumulated neglect. Basically, you're trying to run away from that pain of accumulated neglect. Basically, you've neglected to do certain things in life, and then over time it's accumulated and it's become so uncomfortable, and it kind of forces you to do something. I'll give you an example. For instance, you've neglected looking after your health. You know, your eating habits are not that great. You're not really exercising. You're not really watching your sleep pattern really well. So you're all over the place, and therefore your health starts to deteriorate. It happens really slowly. You don't quite notice it. It's really slowly, but it deteriorates until it gets to a point where you thought was comfortable. You're not doing any of these things, becomes really uncomfortable, because you start becoming weak, you start becoming maybe not well, you start becoming sick. Maybe the first sign, maybe your clothes start, you know, you realize your wardrobe is you've outgrown your wardrobe, and you need to get new clothes because they don't fit you anymore. Or you know, you can't run around with your kids on the neighborhood park, and you start realizing, now this is uncomfortable now. And out of desperation, you start changing your habits. You know, that's one way of doing it. But then your motivation in that case is the pain of the accumulated neglect. And sometimes that is not the best way to go about, because the cost of it is really huge, and sometimes it might even be too late, because you might not be able to recover the time and the opportunity that you've lost because of that accumulated neglect. The best way to do it is to have the inspiration to aspire to better fitness, to aspire to better health, and really change your lifestyle and the things you eat, and your exercising and your sleep, and all these things, to really try and get your health maintained in an optimum position, and be inspired by it, and really maintain that, rather than wait until things have kind of gone downhill and trying to rescue something out of it. Right, inspiration is better. I said it before, forces for change, inspiration or desperation. Now, here I am unequivocally advocating for inspiration all the way. And here are the reasons why inspiration is far better than desperation. This psychologist, 20th century psychologist called Skinner, B.F. Skinner, came up with this theory called operant conditioning, which is basically what we're using now with behavior modeling and behavior alteration in psychology. Basically, they're using operant conditioning, which basically is the issue of reward and punishment. Let me explain that in a nutshell. Basically, what it means here is when you try to change someone's behavior with either what you call positive reinforcement, or you could change someone's behavior with a punishment, which is negative reinforcement. Now, both of them do work, but Skinner found out that actually positive reinforcement works much better, and it lasts a lot longer. If you want lasting changes, then positive reinforcement is much better. That's why it's when you're training children, positive reinforcement is much better when you're encouraging them, when you're giving them rewards, when you're consistently teaching them good behavior in a positive way. The changes last longer than negative reinforcement, because negative reinforcement, punishment, for instance, can get them to change behavior, yes, but they are more likely to revert back to the old behavior once the punishment goes away than with what they would have gotten with positive reinforcement. So that's what operant conditioning is all about. Now, inspiration and desperation is exactly the same thing. Inspiration is reward. You're trying to reward yourself with good behavior. You're trying to reward yourself with the changes you're making. While with desperation, it's just punishment, basically. You're waiting until you're punished. You're waiting until you get the pain to try and make the changes. And it's usually not permanent. It's usually not long-lasting. It's usually not effective, as Skinner found out with his operant conditioning. So that's the first reason. Inspiration is always superior because of that. Second thing, with inspiration, the changes are usually small and they're usually gradual. Why? Because you have the time. Because you haven't waited for the problems to really overwhelm you, you have the time to make those adjustments, and therefore those adjustments don't have to be drastic. They can be really small, they can be really controlled, they can be really gradual, and you can do them in a way that is fulfilling to you. You can do them in a way that is meaningful and that is also practical in your circumstances. I'll give you a simple example. I've called it a flight plan deviation. If say for instance I've used this example many times. If an airplane is trying to fly from London to New York, okay, the pilot, 90% of the time the plane will fly itself. I mean, I'm not trying to say that the pilots are overrated here. No, not by any chance. But they're doing a fantastic job. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a pilot, but well, that never happened. Anyways, back to the point. Basically, the plane 90% of the time is on autopilot, basically. And what the pilot does, they set the navigation course, the flight plan. This is the direction. This is the altitude. This is where we're going, basically. But then, for one reason or another, wind, turbulence, weather storms, this or the other, the plane might deviate from the flight plan. And the deviations can be so subtle, can be so small. But if not corrected, those deviations can lead to a catastrophic, can lead to a disaster, basically. You might think you're going to New York and find yourself ending up in Toronto or in Greenland with a slight deviation. Why? Because even a 1 degree deviation in a small distance, 1 degree deviation is almost nothing. It's that. But if you're traveling for thousands of kilometers or thousands of miles or tens of thousands of miles, 1 degree deviation can lead to thousands of miles off track, of where you're supposed to go. So it's the same. It's the same with changes. It's the same with personal development. If you neglect little things, if you neglect these little deviations and you don't make changes early, these small changes, tiny little changes to kind of correct the course, to make sure that you're heading in the right direction, what's going to end up happening is that by the time you get where you think you're going, you realize you've missed the target, you've missed the mark by a huge sum. Why? Because these little neglects, they accumulate, and over time you realize you've really missed the mark. So that's the thing with inspiration. Usually the changes are small, they're gradual, but they're so impactful because it's the long game. You're not thinking of tomorrow. When you're venturing out into fitness, for instance, you're trying to work out, you're trying to do exercise, you're trying to watch your diet. You're not trying to achieve changes tomorrow, and that's why most of the time all these get rich quick schemes or get slim quick schemes, you see them being advertised, lose weight in 3 weeks, do this in this one. They usually don't work. Why? Because they're focusing on the short term. But usually you get more satisfaction and great results when you're thinking long term, because that way you can make minor changes, small changes, but the impact is so huge because the deviation and the correction becomes magnified with the longevity, if that makes sense. Another reason why inspiration is better, it's cost effective. Why is it cost effective? We know prevention is better than cure, even in medicine. You know, the cost of preventing yourself from becoming ill is always going to be better. It's always going to be more cost effective than the cost of treating an already sick person. And you can look at that on a personal level. You can look at that on a public health level, whichever way. And that cost can be in terms of finances, can be in terms of life, can be in terms of the quality of life, can be in terms of all aspects. If you wait for desperation, it's going to cost you a lot more. Again, using the same example as I used before, the flight plan. It's easier for the pilots to correct those slight deviations when you're hit by turbulence, to correct it straight away. It's just slight deviation, 1 degree, 2 degrees, something like that. It's a lot easier. It's not going to cost the plane much. It's not going to cost it in fuel. It's not going to cost it in energy, just to make those slight deviations, rather than waiting that it being tossed off course and going off course for so long, realizing they've ended up in Greenland, and then trying to change course to try to get themselves back to New York. That's going to be a lot more cost. It's going to cost you a lot more in fuel. It's going to cost you more in time. The passengers are going to be frustrated, and it's just not the way to go. So always making changes early through inspiration, it's the way to go. It's the most cost-effective way to make changes. Jim Rohn says this: a week of neglect costs a year of repair. I've seen that personally in my life so many times. You neglect to do something right that you know is the right thing to do just for a week, but it's cost you to kind of recover from the damage from it. It takes you so long, and I've learned it the hard way in so many ways, and it's just another testament why inspiration is better than desperation. Always get inspired and do things early. Be in control, make the changes, and you definitely benefit from that. Another one really quickly: desperation is usually last minute and usually leads to regret. You know, because you've waited till things have become so difficult, really bad. It's last minute. It's I'm dying. I'm drowning here. It's like that riddle of it's a very popular one. The frog in a boiling pot. Frog in a pot of boiling water or something like that. You know, you stick a frog in cold water. They're nicely in there. They're swimming. They don't have to do anything. They're quite comfortable in their comfort zone. You put the pot on the fire, and the water starts warming up. The frog thinks, it's warming up, but I'm still comfortable. Let me wait a bit longer. It keeps warming up. The temperature keeps rising. The frog starts feeling a bit uncomfortable, but thinks, it's too much hassle trying to jump out of the pot. I'm not going to do this. It's too much hassle. Let me wait a bit longer. Maybe it will start cooling off a bit. So they keep procrastinating, jumping off. Before you know it, it gets to 100 degrees, and the frog pretty much gets fried. And he regrets, I should have jumped 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with desperation. Usually it's last minute. You don't get the results you want. You start regretting that, I wish I made these changes earlier. It just doesn't work. Again, desperation leaves you unprepared, out of control, without resources, without skills. Why? Because you don't get time to prepare. If you're inspired, you'll make the necessary changes. You'll hone your skills. You will improve yourself. You'll get better at what you do because you're making those changes gradually. You are growing organically. You're changing yourself. So inspiration gives you the resources, gives you the time to collect the resources, improves your skills, puts you in control, gets you prepared. Desperation, quite the opposite, makes you unprepared. You're out of control. You're really trying to do things, so you become very ineffective. You don't have the resources. You don't have the skills. It doesn't work. And finally, inspiration or change leads to fulfillment. Again, the issue of happiness. When you're inspired and you make change because of inspiration, you feel like you're in control. You made that choice out of you made the change out of your own volition, and that brings fulfillment because you feel like a sense of achievement. I set out to do this and I've achieved it. It brings fulfillment. Desperation, on the other hand, it always leads to frustration. Even if the changes are good, it's still frustrating because they are forced. You feel like something else has forced you to make the change. And so it's not natural, it's not organic, you don't feel good about it. And we see this a lot in places of work when organizations make change. You have people that are very resistant to change. And as a result, they get really frustrated. Even when the change is good, they get really frustrated. Why? Because they feel like that change has been imposed on them. And that's what desperation does, because you kind of feel like, oh, why do I need to change? Why should I change? I loved where I was. Who moved my cheese? You know, I like the cheese where it was, you know, that kind of thing. But with inspiration, you instigate the change. You are in control. You reap the rewards of the change. You get the fulfillment. You get the pride. You get the reward, and everything is thumbs up. I will end up there in my presentation. But in a nutshell, that's what this book is all about. And that's like the introduction, and that's like the summary of what this book is all about. So the next thing is Stephen is going to take us through the next part of this presentation, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. And like I said before, I strongly encourage you to find this book if you haven't read it, and read it. If you're a tech kind of guy, you love your digital books, you can get it through Amazon Kindle for about £3. If you're old-fashioned like myself and you like your paperbacks, you can get it for about £5 or £7 from Amazon or Abbey Books. So yeah, but I really encourage you. It's a fantastic book. It's only about 95 pages, only about 3.5 hours audiobook. So it's a very small book, but it's loaded, simple yet profound. So I really encourage you to do that. And on that note, Stephen, the floor is yours. Go on.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Charles. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your lovely presentation. Well, basically, I think you've covered all that I needed to cover, maybe. So this is nice. As I said before, the real aim of what we're doing really is not coming to lecture anybody. We come here to kind of share. So as we go along, I think we're gonna leave some time in the end. We want to really learn from each other, you know, because as we are all into this personal development, you know, the things that you know, the things that, you know, I don't know, that you know, experience you've had, I don't have. So it's us learning together as a group. Well, let me share my screen. Yeah, if we are all okay with the screen, yes? Is everyone okay? Can everyone see my screen? If we can wave for me, please, if you see the screen. Okay, amazing. Yes, as Charles introduced, actually, yeah, we are into this small little book with immense materials, to be honest, you know, the things that we can really practically use into our lives and see, you know, how, you know, it can make a difference. Now, well, I'm really happy because Charles has gone through almost, you know, the bits that I was to go through quickly, but it's a nice little book that you can really, you know, get and, you know, take time to read. I will encourage you to just find and read. It's a small little book that can really add value into your life. As it goes, Charles has said, Charles has already, you know, go through all the main introduction, you know, and the thing is, as you can see, in the book, Mr. Jim Rohn really liked to, give quotations in his presentation. He got nice quotations, and this is one of them. He said that for you to have more, you got to become more. For you to give more, well, you have to have more to give more. What we can withdraw is what we have to deposit first. So it's a good philosophy. If you say, I want to be a success, I want to attract a success, you and me have to become that success first before the success come to us. Yeah. So it's a good philosophy. And I thank you, Charles, because you already, ponder all, through that, but I think it's important thing for us to really think through that. What do I really want to achieve? What do I really want to attract? So whatever thing that you really want to come to you, you're going to be that thing first before that thing comes to you. So if you say I want to attract £1 million, you're going to be a millionaire first in the mental state, in how you do, in your networking and all this. Yeah. So it's an important thing. For me to have more, I have to become more. Thank you. Charles has already gone through that. Now, one of the main things that Mr. Rohn is talking about in this book is the philosophy. Yeah, is a philosophy that philosophy affects, it affects how our lives works out. So we will talk about that, in detail, because it's the whole chapter about philosophy. So we will discuss, as Charles said, we're going to just keep discussing as we get time. We're going to go slow. We're not going to just rush through, but we will discuss and get time to go through it nicely. So the personal philosophy, according to Mr. Jim Rohn, he say it establishes our general individual attitude towards life. Okay, so what's your attitude towards learning, for example? What's your attitude toward success? What's your attitude toward things like this that we're doing now? All comes into your philosophy. Okay, your philosophy really determines. Now we will come to see, how do we form our philosophy? But we need to know and understand that, your attitude and my attitude, has something to do with the philosophy. How do I see things like? Now, as you can see again in here, the attitude I have and the attitude you have will determine the quantity of your life. We all understand that in life we have activity. We got things to do. We got to do some things. We have activity, and I think Charles is going through that as well. Activity is proportionate to the results that we get. Okay, most time we don't think through, or we ignore, but what we do really has an influence. What we do has an impact on the results that we get. In the morning we saw a clip that when Charles was introducing this talk for today, he went for a little small run and he came back say, hey, I'm just from a small little run. That's activity. And there is something that he gained from doing what he did. The person who was just sleeping on the bed, and turning around and making the duvet nicely and feel more comfortable, well, gained some things about sleep, but Charles gained whatever he gained through the small little jog that he did. So activity makes a difference. Okay? So it's important, whatever we engage, we need to see, okay, the activity I'm engaging in, is it proportionate, or is it taking me where I want to go, or is it going to give me the results I'm expecting to? So it's important to really check our activity. And if you listen to Jim Rohn, he has some session that he's talking about the activity. He says that, activity is important. We're going to be careful with activity. At the end of the day, You know, he said you don't want to kid yourself. You know, if you don't check your activity, you come at the end of the week, you do the numbers, you find there's nothing. You know, the total doesn't add up. So don't kid yourself. You understand? So if you say I'm going to do this 10 times, and then you do, okay, suppose you're a salesman. If I make 50 calls per day, and you make 2 calls per day, at the end of the week, you know, when we do the numbers, we can see, you know, if I repeat the same after some time, well, I'm going to beat you. It doesn't matter what you do, but activity matters. Okay. The next thing, it says the activity produces the final and proportional results. So activity won't lie. You know, in the other session, we spoke about, you know, and I think Charles did give an example of the professional footballers. You know, they do the same thing 100 times. You know, they keep doing the same, you know, the same practice, for example, over and over and over. And then they become, you know, what's the word, Charles? You know, when you repeat over and over, you know, they become pros, if I can say, you know. So at the end of the day, they get results in proportion to, you know, the activity. So as you can see in the picture over there, the picture explains itself. You know, it's a nice little picture go from the internet. But I want us to really check into the activity. So if I say I'm setting up to make sure every day, you know, I spend 20 minutes reading a book, that will make a difference. If you say, you know, I'm setting up half an hour every day going for a run, that will make a difference. If you say, well, I'm going to spend, you know, 15 hours a day sleeping, that also will make a difference. All right. So activity, very important. So check your activity. You know, what am I doing here? You know, is this in my schedule? You know, is it, you know, taking me where I want to go? So that's important. Again, at the end of the day, Charles spoke about the lifestyle. It's included in the book. And this is one area that I think the majority of people forget. They don't learn, or we don't learn the lifestyle. You know, we live, you know, pay as you go, you know, it's tomorrow, I just leave tomorrow, you know, but Jim Rohn is really encouraging us to design our life, right? So you design what you want to see, you know, you design what lifestyle you want to live, okay? But all this lifestyle is a result actually of something, you know, is a result of the philosophy that we have, is a result of the activity that we had in the past. All this will produce the lifestyle. Yeah. So we don't want to be, you know, like, as you can see in the picture, you know, the other guy designed, you know, he's happy, he's okay, you know, he know what he want. The other one is in apprehension kind of state, you know, he's just looking, he doesn't, you know, well, desperation, that's what I can say. But you can see the other guy is nice and confident, nice and good. He's got a lifestyle, he's living a lifestyle. Yeah. So we don't want to live life haphazardly, like, you know, it's like an emergency is happening, we don't know. We can design it, you know. It's possible that you and me can design the lifestyle. Charles is very happy about this. That's nice.
I find that really funny.
Thank
the
you.
apprehensive guy is just.
Thank you, Charles. Now here's Jim Rohn again. He say, if you want to have more, you got to become more. For things to change for you, you got to change. For things to get better, you have to become better. If you improve, everything will improve for you. If you grow, your money will grow, your relationship will grow, your health, your business, you know, and everything. So there's no hiding, there's no cheating. You know, the input is going to match output, as that's what it is. You want to be the best, practice more. You want to be number one, give it all. That's how it comes. You know, there's no lying about it. You know, you're going to work hard on you. He really encourages to work hard on you more than you do on your job. But you're going to translate that, because some people may start dodging, say, oh, he said to work hard on you and then dodge on your job. No, but work hard on yourself. You know, for better results. So, and this is very true. I think it's true. If you ever want to have a bigger muscle, there's nothing you're going to do. You need to go on your push-ups. You're going to go to the gym. That's what it is. And the bad news is you cannot hire somebody to do it for you. I say, hey, Charles, I'm going to pay you, do the push-ups, and the muscles come to me. That won't work. As simple as that. If you want, you're going to go through the pain, And Mr. Rohn, talks about the pain of discipline or the pain of... Charles, I'm waiting for you. You lost it. Anyway,
sorry,
let's
you said pain of discipline or pain of, is it pain of neglect? I think it's pain of neglect.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah. But Mr. Rohn said, well, you're going to really go through the push-ups and whatever it is, and you're going to endure some pain. Otherwise, you won't gain what you want, okay? And another thing that we will see in this book, that the result and the lifestyle are effects, okay? And all this come from your and my personal philosophy about life, okay? So the lifestyle that you want, or whatever that, this is an effect. So we're going to find what is the cause for this. And this is very important, I think, in life, that to find what's the cause, what's causing this. Because most time we find the result. Oh, this is happening. So we focus, but we forget that there is a cause that causes the result that we see. Yeah. So you can see 2 rich people are happy on the other side, and 2 poor people, they're okay, enjoying life with a pump on the hand. Is okay, but we need to understand that our philosophy really affects the results that we get. Again, he said that our personal philosophy and attitude and activity, these are the ultimate cause of the effect that we get. So is your duty and my duty really time to time to check what's my philosophy about this, the attitude that I'm having in the activity that I'm putting on in everything that I do, because all these are correlated and they have effect on the result that we get. Okay, so that's important to check. Now there is a law of cause and effect, very important. And usually, as I've said before, we normally check on the results, what happened, and which is okay, especially when things go wrong. We focus on, the circumstance, what has happened, what has gone wrong. We focus on that, but we're going to go back and see the cause. Okay, if you listen to what Charles was saying before, it is 1 week of neglect can cause you a year of grief. Okay, so we're going to know that to change the effect, we must deal with the cause. Okay, and Mr. Rohn said that most of the time, we complain about the other side, but we keep putting, the fertilizers and water and manure on the cause of the problem. Yeah, so we're really going to sit down and check, okay, the result that we get. What's the cause of it? Yeah, if we feel like, well, we can't breathe well, what's causing this? So we're going to investigate. We're going to sit down and check about what's going on, what's happening. So, you change some things, like start running, go around the block, start eating boiled egg rather than fried egg, things like that. Eating health meal more than chips and burgers. So we need to see what's happening for us to start changing the cause of the effect that we get. Okay, so from this guy here, well, I think he's gonna get, I don't know, a good result. I don't know, but the cause and effect, as you can see, if he continues doing what he's doing, well, eventually we know what's going to happen. And this is, typical example of, at times, you're very busy, you're doing diligently, but the result you're going to get is really not going to be nice if you're not observing. Now, here's Mr. Jim Rohn again, and here's an inspiration to live by, as you work on your personal development day by day. He's saying that you can have more than you have because you can become more than you are. And that is the challenge. There is no limit for you and me to what we can achieve, you know. And he normally say, if I ask you, how long can a tree grow, or how big can a tree grow? He say, as much as it can. So how much can you grow, or how much can you and me succeed? Well, as much as we maybe aspire to. So we can become more. There is a possibility, there is a chance, there is a room to become more. But we're going to put some work down, right? And that's the only way you can guarantee to have more. And then he normally says that, you know, some people want to have more, but they don't even work in the handshake. You know, they say, hey, I want to be this, I want to be that, you know, I want to get this, I want to, yes, you can get, you can want to get, you can want to be, but you're going to put some work down. Yeah. You're going to really work on something. But what we need to know is there is a chance, there is an opportunity for us to become more, for us to be more. We can't do that. Okay. And next, Mr. Rohn said that your personal philosophy is the greatest determining factor on how your life and my life works out. So simply what we know, you know, and this is a real challenge, because what you know needs some work. It just won't come like, you need to really make sure you put in what you want to know. Okay, as it is at the moment, if you're watching TV, whatever you see there, you know, it's gonna be bad news all the time. And we will see later, you know, how do we know what we know? But basically, we know what we know through the whatever environment that we're in, what we're exposed in. You know, you go the news coming in, the people you associate with, the books you read. We'll see all this, you know. But your philosophy really matters. So take time to, you know, check your philosophy in some areas, in finance, you know, my philosophy in relationship, my philosophy in business and in health and all stuff. Yeah. Now he's talking about the change, and I think Charles is going through this again, and you know, the process of change, you know, and he say change begins in the source of change. There are only two sources. The number one, he says, desperation, and the number two is inspiration. So, you know, you can be desperate. You can be in a very challenging circumstance that there's no way out. Then from that point, you know, you start acting. You know, from that point, you start doing something, you know. But again, there is inspiration, in which Charles said, you know, that's the best option that we can take. You know, we don't need to stay until we are desperate, until there is nowhere to go for us to act. You know, so it's important that we really act by inspiration. Okay, let's be inspired to act before, you know, the environment really forces us to. You know, so it's important to do that. And then Jim Rohn is again talking about the key to success and happiness. Okay, and he said there are always just a few important principles that account for most progress that we make in our lives. It's not too many things. He said just a few key important things that really matters into, you know, how our lives works out. Now, I find this really fascinating, because most of the time we're really looking into going around the places, looking in it, but he's saying, no, it's only a few principal things that really count the most into, you know, how we progress in life. Yeah. And then he's saying that it is the basics, you know, the fundamentals in life that we all need to master. This is all we need, you know. Just run around the block, you know, read a book, you know, exercise, you know, eat well, you know, rest well, You know, it's just few simple stuff. You don't need, you know, a rocket science or anything big, but most of the time, somehow we ignore, you know, and then we just can't ignore. Could be because it's very simple, and then we say, well, it's too simple, this one. But those are really the fundamentals. Those are really make, you know, our life a success or a failure. You know, so saying, you know, I'm going to set up, you know, every day an hour to do something useful. Say you're reading a book. If you do that for a week, that's 7 hours. You know, if you do that for a month, that's a lot of hours. If you do that for a year, that's a good one. You know, if you say, well, I'm going to start doing a small half an hour exercise to make sure I'm sweating a little bit. If you repeat that one 7 times a day, you know, that's a couple of hours. It's a small, simple thing. But most of the time, you know, we kind maybe forget or maybe ignore. But he's insisting that, you know, the basics, you know, they are the fundamentals that we really need to master for our life to flourish. And he said that it is the basics that have the greatest effect in our everything, our health, our happiness, our bank accounts, our relationships, and everything. So your job and my job, your challenge and my challenge is to really look into what are these small, simple basics that I can, you know, start implementing or working on today, you know, and see a major big difference. And as you can remember, Charles gave an example. If you're having a plane, you're a pilot, if you do 1 degree deviation, in the beginning, it's a small degree, but after a long time, you find you've gone really away from your you know, the right course of direction that you were. So it's a small little thing. So whether you apply a discipline or you apply ignoring, you're going to have the same effect after a long time. So if you apply the discipline, well, after a long time, you reap the dividend. If you apply, you know, neglect, you know, after some time, you reap the same. So you may just ignore, it's just 1 degree, you know, it's just one Big Mac, you know, it's not going to have any effect. It's just 1 Coca-Cola, it's just 1 something. But if you repeat the same, just 1 little something, after some time, it accumulates. And Jim Rohn says life accumulates. You know, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, it accumulates. So either discipline or, you know, neglect. After some time, it grows. So that's very, very important. Next, he said that you will never be able to master every aspect of life. So he's encouraging us to try to narrow down into few things that you really want to master. So you say, I want to be the greatest motivational speaker. This is what I want to be. Then major on that. I want to be the greatest footballer. Then major on that. You know, put your time, put your effort in that one. Invest in that particular thing, you know, and then that's how you need to do. And he's really telling us not to be the jack of all trade. Okay, so instead of, you know, just going in everything, you know, no, just find something that you think this will make the greatest impact, you know, then do that. Yeah, do that. Focus into that. And I found, you know, this is one of the factors really which affects us mostly in many things. And then we find that success is really not coming as fast as we could, because you see, we find that you've scattered your resources. You're into that, into this, into that, into this. But if you focus into whatever thing, every effort, every energy, every penny go into that particular goal and objective, I think and I believe, you know, you will or I will, you know, achieve more rather than, you know, scatter everything, go everywhere. Okay, so say go after something that you see that this is what I want to make a difference on, and then just major on that. Yeah. Again, he said, as you look around your world for answers to good life, always be in search of those few things that makes the most difference. This is a very wise thing to do if you can. It's not too many things. It's just a few things that makes the big difference. So let's be on search of those things, those few things. Okay. And again, if I can repeat myself, most things, they're just the basics, you know, all the basics, the simple stuff that we need to do, you know, save before you spend, or, you know, exercise every day if you can, you know, read a book, you know, do this kind of thing. They're very simple stuff, but most time we can't ignore. So I'll read tomorrow, or I'm going to go for a run next week, next year, and then time pass by. And it says again, it's really insisting on the basics. Say it is the basics, the fundamentals in life that we all need to master. It's just simple as ABC. We don't need too much. Okay. He said there's no new fundamentals, you know, it's all same simple stuff that we need to do. Simple discipline that we need to do, and repeat them over and over every day. Today, tomorrow, next week, next year. Then that's how we're going to have a cumulative result of what we do, of what we implement. And at times, you know, we have a good thing, we know what to do, but there is no consistency. You do today, tomorrow, you break, and then you forget about it. You come back again after 1 year, it doesn't do. So it's a consistency, you know. Small, simple disciplines that you practice every day makes a difference. That makes success come true. Okay, so let's go and check into, you know, our ABC. What is a simple thing that we could have done or we have to do that we can't ignore, you know? Yeah, so those kind of things. So when you say, okay, read a book, or write down your goals, you know, have them written down, you know, have a vision board, something like this, for example. So those kind of things. So just go back and say, okay, there's something that it's very simple for me to do, but I've been ignoring, maybe because it's too small. Just go and do that. Yeah. Again, you say basics are basics, and anything else that we are doing is just to refine and expand upon the same principles. So there's nothing new. Okay, push-ups are the push-ups, exercise is exercise. You know, you can do whatever way, but I say basics remain basics, and we're gonna stick to the basics, you know. And you know, it's the same principle, and that's how we you know, we have to do. So it's important that stop ignoring, because most of the time it's just a small 1 degree, it won't matter, but it's gonna matter after some time. You know, what you choose to neglect now, after some time, is going to be something that can cause a problem. And again, it's say, in an attempt to improve your current circumstance, never allow yourself to drift from those time-proven principles. So what we're trying to share, you know, in our group here, you know, the principles of success and all this. So time to time, don't drift, you know, stick to the principles. Okay. And again, Mr. Jim Rohn is talking about the philosophy, you know, he say this is one of the greatest factor that really determine how our lives works out. Now, in the book, he's saying about, you know, the thoughts and the minds and the ideas. He said everything that goes inside you, you know, your mind and my mind, the thoughts and ideas, all these form from a personal philosophy. So what I'm thinking about something, you know, Charles come with an idea, say, oh, you know, there is this kind of a business or this kind of, you know, investment, you know, he's trying to tell me, he'll tell me, so I'll get the information he's telling me, but, you know, it's going to go into, again, my philosophy about investing, okay? So if I have a rich kind of mentality or mindset, well, I'll understand, I'll grasp the idea. If I have a poor mindset, you're going to do like the guy there, what he's trying to do, I don't know, in the picture, but you can see the difference, okay? So the philosophy, you know, what we know is really important, you know? And again, as we will see, when we grow up, we we trust on our parents, on our uncles and aunties really to teach us, you know. So the brain and the mind is empty at that particular point of time, and they put things inside. At times they put the right stuff, at times they put the wrong stuff in it. So when we grow up and as a, you know, as an adult, now you're gonna really go back and try to see, you know, the plan that they sold you. You know, so sometimes some plans are, you know, are no really good plans. Some things are not really good things. So we're gonna go back and try to refine, you know, remove, you know, the information that they put on our minds. So Mr. Rohn say, change your philosophy will change your life. So this is important. Yeah, he's reminding us again. Now, our philosophy then influenced the habits and the behavior. Okay, so the guy is playing safe, as you can see. So whether you do, you know, playing safe or you do the win-win, all this come with, you know, the philosophy that you have when you were growing up or when I was growing up, you know, and what do I read? What do, you know, what do I see things to be, you know? So the philosophy we have have an influence in habits on how we do. And you can see this will affect the success that you get. This can determine either you fail or you succeed, as simple as it is. Okay, now you can see in here who is winning. You can see who is winning, who is losing. Very easy. You know, it's a very nice picture. I like it. You know, it's very easy. You can see, you know, playing defensive. You think that, well, this is a safe thing to do. Charles is, you know. So
he's parking the bus.
Back in the bus. Yeah, so it's all coming to the philosophy, you know, and I would rather be the other guy, to be honest, you know. But again, it won't just happen because it's happening, you know. You're going to really invest in you to be able to smile like the other guy, the Mr. Rich, you know. So it's important that we, you know, we know that the philosophy we have has an influence in habit and behavior that we have. Okay, so Mr. Rohn said that everything that goes inside the human mind, you know, well, I'm repeating the same thing, you know, from the thoughts and the idea, the information, everything is good to do something to do with the philosophy that we have. Now, our philosophy comes from what we know. Okay. What we know forms the philosophy. Now you can see in the picture in here. I think I don't know. It's a rich. Whatever comes, whatever it is, you know. Mr. Rich is happy. Is prepared. Is catching. While the other guy has thrown the whatever net is running away. You know. So this is in relation to, okay, what they know about what's coming. You know, what do you know about, you know, what's happening? So that makes a difference because you will react or you will behave or you will do in relation or directly to what you know. Yeah. Now it says that throughout our lives we receive input from various forces. So this is how, you know, we form the philosophy. Okay, the philosophy comes from what we know. Now, what we know comes from all these sources that we see in here, you know, from school, from friends, media, home, you know, in the parenting, and all this. It comes from the book we read, what we see, you know, what we listen to, all this form our philosophy, which means I have to always stand guard at the door of my mind to make sure I see what comes in, you know, because what comes in have an effect. You know, the information I get have an effect. So we're really going to make sure that we check, you know, into what comes in. Now, again, I say as adults, you know, we obviously we had parents, the people who help us to grow. You know, they had to teach us what they knew, you know, and we have to take that at that particular point of time. But now we come and check again. So whatever we know, whatever we have, is it right? Is it okay? You know, so we can refine at this point of time. So this is what I've just said. You know, the information that, you know, we have really have an influence. If you tell me something, I'm going to filter what you're telling me, compare in what I already know, you know, and that's how things are. And this is how you see that, you know, you have an opportunity, someone see opportunity, someone doesn't see, you know, someone see, you know, how to succeed, and another one doesn't see. So all this comes into the filter that we use, okay? Okay, now here is another thing. He said that the concept that seems to agree with the conclusion that we already we have already reached, added into our storehouse of knowledge to serve to reinforce our current thinking. So we see that what we already know, what is already inside us, really affects how we decide, you know, how we take opportunity, you know, how we see things, you know. So it's really important that, you know, we revisit our philosophy and refine. So you can see here, this one sees a solution, the other guy has already made his mind, is running away. But that's what it is. In his mind, he sees this is a problem, is a barrier, is a big stone, I'm running away. These other guys say, okay, this is a nice thing, I can see a solution, you know, and I'm gonna make it a success. So that's what Mr. Rohn is trying to tell us, that the philosophy have an effect, okay? Right, and here are the 3 more points that I say. We are constantly in the process of checking our pre-existing belief for accuracy or confirmation in the light of new information. Now, this is where the problem comes when we want to change. You know, here, point number 1, as you can see, you know, has got something to do. When someone try to change something, so this is gonna be one of the things that really, you know, need to be looked at. Because if you believe that, oh, being rich is sin, being rich is bad, no matter how I preach you become rich, you say, no, 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 no. If I be rich, I'm gonna go to hell. So don't worry about that. I'm gonna just survive, and this is what I've learned, and this is how I live my life, okay? So I think it's an important point, in my view, it's an important point to really kind of check against yourself, against what you already have in the mind, say, okay, you know, what's my philosophy on this and that and this and that, because that will have an effect. Every new information comes in, if it doesn't match, it's not going to be accepted, okay? So the same thing, he said the same belief that form our personal philosophy also determines our value systems, okay? And our belief will lead into, you know, how we make decisions, you know, and what we think or what we see as a value, okay? So you have a set of value on your life. So, you know, these are my values, and all these things got something to do with, you know, your ability and my ability to change, yeah? Yeah, I'm rushing because the time is far gone. So I'm gonna just go through. But I really encourage you to, consider these points. If you read the book, just take some time and then review these points, and then see how much you can adjust and then how they fit into you. And I think I'm on my last slide. Yeah, so basically, we will proceed next week on how we form, the philosophy and every other point, But for today, that's all I can say, that the philosophy that you have and the philosophy that I have, makes a difference in
Stephen,
how, sorry,
sorry to interrupt you. Can you just put back the last slide, please? I just want to write something down. Is that possible?
that one there?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so Charles, if I can bring it back to you, and if you can moderate, if there's anybody with contribution, anyone want to add something, please.
Yeah, absolutely. That was powerful, Steve. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This book is amazing, guys. I can't stress this enough. And all we're trying to do here, we're just trying to scrape just the surface, because there is so much meat in this book, and Jim Rohn is so good and so eloquent in the way he brings his points across, and it's so simple to read, so wonderfully written, and it's got so much knowledge, and it's just amazing. I'm running out of superlatives here. It's just an amazing book, and Steve, thank you so much. This is really good. And let me just stress a point about philosophy. Philosophy is extremely important. Philosophy is very much like culture, in a sense that you can't pin it to one thing. You can't say, if I ask you now, you to tell me what your philosophy is, you probably would go like, huh? You know what I mean? Because it's not one thing. It's everything. It has its tentacles in everything. It informs you and dictates how you think, how you act, how you reason, how you feel, how you. It just drives everything. It's like it's in everything. It's like culture. When you talk of someone's culture, it's not just about the food. It goes to establish to tell you about the person's food, about the person's music, about the person's beliefs. It tells about everything. That's what culture is. Culture is everywhere. It tells about someone's politics, about someone's economy, what they do for a living, what they do. Culture is everything. It's the same with philosophy. Philosophy, it tells you everything about that person. And before, in the past, when someone talked of philosophy, I kind of confused it a little bit. And I just want to make it clear in case you're getting the same confusion. Sometimes when we say that philosophy is all about what you know, it's important to understand it's not just what you know consciously. It's even more important what you know subconsciously. And the only way to tell whether that is your philosophy, it comes down to your actions. What do I mean by that? If you know that you need to eat healthy to stay healthy, okay? If you know that you need to eat healthy to stay healthy, that is not your philosophy until you actually get to a stage where you are actually eating healthy. You know what I mean? Because everybody knows that eating healthy is important, but not everyone is doing that. So when you talk about philosophy, it's not just about you knowing it like intellectually, that, yeah, I know that eating healthy is nice, or I know that working out, doing exercises is good, or hard work is important to be successful. It's not just the matter of you knowing that for it to be a philosophy. It becomes a philosophy when it is informing your decision making, it is informing your action, it is informing your resource allocation, including your time, your energy, everything. When it does that, then that's when it becomes a philosophy. So it's a really important thing. And the only way to do that, what Steve said, is not something that you can just jump from one philosophy to another. No, you can't do that, because the philosophy you have right now has been built over time. I mean, it's something you started from when you're really young, and it's information, it's experience, it's knowledge, it's the books, it is the things you've seen, the things you've done, what you've been told, what you've seen, you've modeled from your parents, from your teachers. It is something you've built over a long time. So it's not going to go away in a day. But then the question you need to ask yourself is, it's not the question of whether you have a philosophy or not, because everybody has one. It is the question of whether the philosophy you have, it's whether it is serving you well. And by serving you well, what do I mean? It's the question of whether it has what it takes to take you where you want to go. Because sometimes I ask myself a question that, is my philosophy really going to take me where I want to go? Because I have my dreams, I have my passions, I have my goals, I have my ambitions. And every time I sit down and do my assessment, I ask myself this question: is my philosophy really going to take me where I want to go? Because that, if it doesn't, and I can quickly see whether it does or it doesn't, determine what my actions are and what my attitude is towards reaching those goals. For instance, if you want to end up really being very fit, and you want to join the gym, and you really want to look after your health and do that, and every time you wake up in the morning to try and do a run, you're really grumpy. You're like, oh, do I really have to wake up today? Oh, it's really cold outside. Do I really want to do this? Oh, do I really need to go to the gym? Oh, gym is hard work. If that's your mindset, and sometimes that stops you from doing what you have to do, then first thing you have to question your philosophy, because is it really your philosophy that you need to work out and get fit? You understand? So, and therefore you have to challenge yourself from there and really try and find those inspirations. You remember those inspirations? I'll say, try and kind of build that, ramp up that philosophy, because you might be saying one thing, but actually if you really search yourself, you realize actually your philosophy is sit back, relax, and hope things will change. so actually you need to really challenge yourself. And I find that really tough, because I've done it to myself as well. Sometimes I really sit down and become really honest with myself, and I realize actually my philosophy is really stinking. And though I have all these ambitions, and maybe this is what I'm saying, but in this particular area, my philosophy is really way off, and I really need to work on that. And then slowly start working on that through learning, through finding inspiration, through mentorships, through all these things. And it takes time, because what you're doing, you're starting to refine. That's what Steve said. That's what Jim Rohn says. You're starting to refine that philosophy. Other people call it paradigm, and that's the paradigm shift. You start shifting slowly. Others call it your thinking habits. They start changing slowly, and over time you start refining. And as I say, those 1 degree deviations, over time they cause magnificent changes in your life, and that's what we encourage you to do. So great, Steve, great presentation. Thank you very much.